Just like color fill, you can also fill your shape with gradients. Gradients are a graduated blend of color which gives a nice effect to the object that it is applied to. The gradient tool is located here on the toolbar. You can press G on the keyboard to activate the gradient tool. Double clicking on the gradient tool will open up the gradient panel, which contains many properties about the gradient tool. You can also open up the gradient panel by pressing Command F9 on the keyboard. For the F9 key to work on Mac, press the Fn key, which is below the left shift key, and then press Command F9. You can also open the gradient panel by clicking on Windows and choosing Gradient. There are two ways to apply gradient to an object, so let's look at them. First, let me draw a simple circle here. Now the first way is to select the gradient tool and click on the shape. This will apply a gradient. Here you don't need to have the shape selected. Just click on the shape with the gradient tool and the gradient will be applied. Another way is to first select the shape and then double click on the gradient tool to open up the gradient panel. Now click on this down facing arrow to open up the gradient menu. Here you can choose the gradient that you want to apply. So these are the gradient presets that comes with Illustrator. You can select any of them to apply on the object. Now let's first go through the different options in the gradient panel. This is the gradient fill box, which shows you the current gradient in use. And this is the gradient menu, which contains predefined gradient presets. And this is a fill gradient and stroke gradient menu. You can press X to toggle between the fill and the stroke. You can fill a gradient to the entire object or even to a stroke if you like. To select between fill and stroke, press X to toggle between them. In Illustrator, there are two types of gradient that you can use. One is linear and other is radial. In radial gradient, the base color will be at the center and the color flow is from center to the edges. Whereas in linear gradient, the color flow is from edge to edge. And if you click on this button, it will reverse the gradient. That means it will move the center color to the edge and the edge color to the center. And this bar is called the gradient annotator, or you may call it color slider. Here you can adjust color shading by moving these boxes, which are called color stop. You can double click on these to open up the color swatch, where you can choose any color. You can add n number of color stop in the annotator. So move your cursor near the annotator, and when you see a plus sign, just click to add a new color stop. To remove the color stop, just click and drag out to delete it. You can also select the color stop and then press the delete button here to remove the color stop. These diamond shaped box are called the midpoint, and it is present between two color stop. So there is a midpoint between any two color stop. This can be adjusted for color flow. So if you take the midpoint towards the red stop, the red color flow will reduce and vice versa. And if the midpoint is placed at the center, then the color flows equally. Next option is opacity, which controls how much color we want to fill in our object. So click on the color stop to change its opacity. The location option can be used to change the position of the color stop. The leftmost color stop has a location of 0 and the rightmost has the location 100. So if I select this leftmost stop and change the location to 50 and then select this right stop and change its location to 50, you will get this abrupt change in color flow, which is a kind of nice effect. So basically the location option allows for finer control of color stop. So you can fine tune the gradient from the gradient panel. Not only that, you can adjust the gradient directly using the annotator on the object. So in order to activate the annotator, in case you accidentally deselect the object, just select the object and press G. This will bring up the slider or annotator. From here, you can change the position of the color stop, add new stops, remove color stops, increase the extent of the gradient by dragging this square. So if you click and drag from this black circle, you can change the location of the gradient. You can even rotate the annotator if you like. Just take the mouse to this location, and when the rotation handle appear, just click and rotate. So this is all about the gradient tool in Illustrator.